there's a lot of TV out there in the world that y'all could be watching right now, and you chose to come to Poetry Workshop instead, so thank you. So to get started, I wonder if there's a way to do this without all of us like piling onto each other in the audio. But I would love to hear a little bit about you all. So what we can try is in the chat function, could you type in your name, your pronouns, maybe where you're reporting live from, and the last thing you Googled. My name is Safia. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am in Oakland, California. And the last thing I Googled, let me actually look at it so I tell you all the truth. The last thing I Googled was, is Shia LaBeouf white? Which is not the first time I've Googled this, because the thing with Google is it won't actually give like a comprehensive answer. So I feel like every couple months I check in to see if the internet has updated itself on the matter. Still TBD. Ooh, what are velvet tamarins? What a great collection of sounds. I love tamarins, I love velvet. It never occurred to me that the two could be one. A fashion analysis of, what season of Mad Men are you in? I know there's no way to actually have this conversation the way I'm trying to have this conversation. I am slowly starting to understand the limitations of our forum, but I have so many follow-up questions for you all, and I hope somehow, someday I can ask them. But in the meantime, let me make sure that I get to take a look at everyone's answers. The Arabic word for inches. How old is Tory Lanez? Okay, so these are still gradually trickling in. I will make sure to keep an eye on them. But I also know that this is going to be a YouTube video, and I don't want the whole video to be me like up in the camera trying to read everyone's responses in the chat box. So I'm going to share my screen right now because I made a little, it's not really a slideshow. It's just we are going to be looking at a full screen of a document that I made, but it's functioning kind of as a worksheet for this workshop. It's going to have the poems on it, and there are going to be some kind of micro listing prompts, and then I'll give you a prompt ultimately to write a poem. What I'm hoping to do so that the workshop isn't just me like talking at you all this whole time, there are 4 poems that we're going to be looking at to kind of gather inspiration from as we move towards the prompts. And what I would love is for one of you all to read each of the 4 poems. So what I'm going to ask you to do when it's time to get to that part is to ideally volunteer using the chat function, and then I will, I guess, call on you. And then we'll ask you to unmute yourself, read the poem, which will be on the screen, I promise. And then once you're done, re-mute yourself. You can raise your hand in Zoom. Will someone try raising their hand so I can see what it looks like on my end? Did something happen? Maybe because I'm not the host, it doesn't show anything for me. So we will raise our hands in the bootleg way. Participants. Okay. And then what happens? Can everyone unraise their hand now? It also, this way feels a little unfair because it shows up to me in like a set order. So I might ask you all to just use the chat function instead so that it feels a little more democratic to me as far as what I see first. Let me pull up my shared screen. Okay, can everyone see that? Cool. So this is a generative writing workshop called The Presence of Absence. The more I've looked at this in the past week that we've been advertising this, I like managed to convince myself that I've misspelled absence each time, where just the S and the C is really, it's one of those words where if you look at it too long, it kind of looks made up. So there is a good chance that it is misspelled. If so, we're all just trying to do the best we can. Please forgive me. So we're going to be looking at 4 poems that I love very, very much. I hope you all already have, I see some people pulling out notebooks and stuff. If you all have something to write with and something to write on, whatever that looks like for you. The structure of this is I'm going to, as I mentioned before, have one of you read one of the poems out loud, and then the next page will be a prompt for you to make a list of things. That's just for you. You're not going to be sharing that. It's just kind of think of it as like a workbook space for you to like start to get ideas and images out as we work towards the ultimate prompt. So again, don't worry about like full sentences or spelling or any of that. They're just, you're making notes at that point. And, you know, be as honest as you can, but also, you know, do not share anything you don't feel comfortable sharing. I want the space to feel safe for everyone, and, you know, stuff might come up, but I also don't want it to force you to bring up stuff that you don't feel ready to bring up. So truly, all of these prompts, there is no wrong answer, whatever it means to you. There is no wrong answer in poetry. And let's get started. So the first poem is Backwards by Warsan Shire. And can I get a volunteer to read this poem out loud? How do I see the chat function now that I'm screen sharing? It's the real question. More. There we go. Okay. Okay, Abby, please unmute yourself and read.
Backwards. The poem can start with him walking backwards into a room. He takes off his jacket and sits down for the rest of his life. That's how we bring Dad back. I can make the blood run back up my nose, ants rushing into a hole. We grow into smaller bodies. My breasts disappear. Your cheeks soften. Teeth sink back into gums. I can make us loved. Just say the word. Give them stumps for hands if even once they touched us without consent. I can write the poem and make it disappear. Stepdad spits liquor back into glass. Mom's body rolls back up the stairs. The bone pops back into place. Maybe she keeps the baby. Maybe we're okay, kid. I'll rewrite this whole life, and this time there'll be so much love, you won't be able to see beyond it. You won't be able to see beyond it. I'll rewrite this whole life, and this time there'll be so much love. Maybe we're okay, kid. Maybe she keeps the baby. Mom's body rolls back up the stairs. The bone pops back into place. Stepdad spits liquor back into the glass. I can write the poem and make it disappear. Give them stumps for hands if even once they touch us without consent. I can make us loved, just say the word. Your cheeks soften, teeth sink back into gums. We grow into smaller bodies. My breasts disappear. I can make the blood run back up my nose, ants rushing into a hole. That's how we bring Dad back. He takes off his jacket and sits down for the rest of his life. The poem can start with him walking backwards into a room.
Thank you, Abby. So, let me scroll. Okay. I would like you to list 3 things that you have lost. It can be anything of any scale. It can be a tangible object. It can be a concept. It can be a tooth, a person, a country, a prevailing sense of innocence, of like good juicy pen, an earring, a sock, a country, whatever. I already said that, but you already know what my concern is. So 3 things that you have lost. They also don't all have to be related if you don't want them to be. It can be like a pen and a country and a singing voice. Bam, 3 things that you have lost. And then when you are done with your list, could you raise your hand? Okay, if you're still working on your list, maybe take the next couple seconds to just finish the word you were spelling. And then can I get a volunteer to read Palindrome by Nate Marshall? All right, Ariane, can you unmute yourself and please tell me exactly the ways in which I just mispronounced your name?
You said it right, actually.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Palindrome by Nate Marshall. On her profile, I see she has 2 kids. Now one she had in high school, now none at all. She unaborts one. She is unpregnant. In 8th grade, she unassembles her favorite pop singer Pink. She uncuts her hair. It pulls into her scalp from clumps on the floor. Her new boyfriend forgets the weight of her. She leaves her new boyfriend. He's forgetting her phone number. She becomes my girlfriend. She picks up the phone and I am on the line, ungiving a goodbye. Her best friend trades letters between us. We each open letters from ourselves with hearts on the outside. She transfers to our magnet school. She moves to a neighborhood close by. We separate at the lips. We have never kissed behind the school. She unchecks the yes box on the note, and I take away my middle school love letter. I unmeet her cop father and her Chicano moms. We walk backwards into Baskin Robbins, throwing up gold medal ribbon ice cream into cups. It rounds into scoops, flattens into gallon drums of sugar and cream and coldness. We are 6 years old. Maybe we can go back to then. I unlearn her name, the way it is spelled the same backward, how it flips on a page or in my mouth. I never knew words could do that until 5 minutes from now.
Thank you.
Of course.
So next, I would like you to list 3 moments in your life you wish you could undo. And then when you're done with your list, if you can raise your hand. Everyone who already had your hand raised from the last list, if you could then unraise your hand and then re-raise it, you already know. Thank you. I can also scroll back up to the poem if y'all want to look at it. And the prompt right now is that you're listing 3 moments in your life you wish you could undo. Whatever it means to you. Either you wish they didn't happen, you wish you could undo them and do something else. Truly, whatever comes to mind when you hear 3 moments in your life you wish you could undo. No wrong answer in poetry. Oh, and the first poem was Backwards by Warsan Shire. It's from the chapbook Her Blue Body. And this Nate Marshall poem is from the book Wild Hundreds. I too love both these poets. The whole scam of this workshop is just to make people look at poems that I love and, give myself an excuse to revisit poems that I love. Oh, I think we have someone unmuted. Okay, and then for folks who haven't raised their hands yet, if you want to take the next couple seconds to just jot down notes for yourself about what comes next. Again, no one is going to see these notes either, just to kind of jog your brain a little bit and to give you something to look back at when you're writing your poems. Okay, so can I get a volunteer to read in this poem, It Is Not Winter by C.F. Sibley? Leah, can you read, please?
Okay. Hold on. I'm trying to see this screen. Okay. In this poem, the police do not come to our door with dogs for your clothes. In this poem, the valley does not crawl with navy lines of men beating the snow drifts with sticks. In this poem, white banks below street lamps fill only with light. In this poem, we do not hang your face on the wall in case you return and we have forgotten it. In this poem, you graduate. In this poem, there is nothing luminous about you. You major in econ and get wicked drunk on weekends. In this poem, you can be a real asshole. No one canonizes you. In this poem, no one tries to reconstruct you with when or where or what you wore or timelines or taking statements or tracking or your shoes or your mother or her desperate mouth or the tiles in our shower or fucking without crying or cheap liquor or the divers or the trees or where that night or that night or that night after night after night after night after night. In this poem, your body is just a body. In this poem, when we get laid, we do not look out the door to see if your body is watching. In this poem, I never come home to find your body on the bed, full of black glass and wet leaves. In this poem, your body does not stand over us while we sleep. It does not hold its handfuls of green water and wait for us to open our mouths. In this poem, when we say I love you, we do not mean, please drink my grief with me. In this poem, we do not drain the river. We do not fill it with whiskey or return to it over and over to rehearse your death. In this poem, there is nothing to search for. In this poem, the willow puts its hands into the river and pulls you out.
Thank you, Leah. Next, I would like you to list 3 things that haunt you, whatever that means to you. 3 things that haunt you. And then if you could unraise your hand and then re-raise it when you're done, you already know, you're experts at this point. Okay, so it seems like most people are done. If you're not, if you want to just take the next couple seconds to, make a note for yourself for what you meant to write down. Next, can I get a volunteer to read Zodit by Aracelis Girmay? Can I get Tushara to read? Hold on, this one's a 2-pager, so let me... Are both those pages showing up?
Yes, I can see them both.
Cool, okay.
All right. Zodit by Aracelis Girmay. Because she has a name in the book of my family, the book of my father's brain and chest, because everyone who looks at the old photographs of the birdish and beautiful child always say the same thing, Theodid. I believe I have an aunt named Theodid, whose face I've never seen without the translation of the camera's machine, because she's not here. Not any of the people who walk through the house, small like the skeleton of the sparrow, my father's voice saying she was gone. Because I have never met her in our family's houses, because I never met her on a train or at the hotel in Frankfurt on a layover. She was not one of the women there who looked up from folding the hot blankets and mopping the floor to kiss my cheeks and kiss my cheeks when I said yes, Addis Ogdo, because she was not one of them who took me for tea and accompanied me to the airport the next day when I said the name of my grandfather's town, though we were thousands of miles away, because there was no new letters marked with international stamps now. I believe that she was here once and has gone. Everything is the absence of her. If she stands this morning with the deer outside the window of this house I borrow, if she stands with that deer right now, this cold and April morning, all I see are the deer. If she laughs with the laughter of crows and other birds in the morning, all I hear are the crows and other birds. This world uninterrupted by her body and her skin, as if, like in the story of cats, she has brought the great bird of the day to my door. The day, large and great in her invisible mouth, as if this world without her face is the only sentence. She has gone.
Thank you. Hold on. So I want you to go back to the first list that you've made, where you listed things that you've lost. I want you to choose one of those things that you have lost and write down 3 moments where it was missing from your life. So let's say I lost a tooth. It would be missing from my first grade class photo. It would be missing when I bit into a bagel that morning. It would be missing when I opened my mouth to laugh. Let's say I lost an earring. It would be missing from my senior prom photo. It would be missing when I reached for it to wear to graduation. It would be missing when I reached for it to wear today. So one thing that you have lost and 3 moments where it was missing from your life. And then if everyone can unraise their hand, so you can re-raise your hand when you're done. Yes, you can write where it will be missing. Whatever it means to you. Just 3 parts of your life where you feel it missing. So it can be a moment, it can be a space, it can be whatever. Oh, I think we have an unmute happening. I hear a little rustling. Okay, we'll take a few more moments to finish this up. Okay, so now the prompt. I'd like you to write a poem in 2 parts. In the first part, I'd like you to consider something that you've lost and write about the empty spaces it has left behind in your life. In the second part, I want you to go backwards through time until the lost thing is no longer lost. Again, truly, whatever these things mean to you. I did not intend it one particular way when I wrote the prompt. I've never written the poem that corresponds to this prompt, so there isn't even like a version of the poem that I have in mind. So please give yourself permission to go wherever it occurs to you to go with this. Feel free to consult your notes that you've been making to mine them for stuff to use in the poem. Also, feel free to write a poem that has absolutely nothing to do with the notes that you made. Truly, wherever it takes you. But yeah, the prompt is right here. Please do let me know if you have any questions. But again, I want you to feel empowered to just take it to mean whatever it immediately means to you. Do not worry about how I intend, like what I intended it to mean. That is truly the least important thing. I think we should let's take 20 minutes to write. I will check in with you at the end of those 20 minutes. The prompt is also, can everyone see the prompt on the screen in front of you? So for, again, if you want to hear me read it one more time, you're gonna write a poem in 2 parts. In the first part, I want you to consider something that you've lost and write about the empty spaces it has left behind in your life. In the second part, I want you to go backwards through time until the lost thing is no longer lost, whatever that means to you. So we're gonna take 20 minutes. I'm gonna try and play some like gentle writing music in the background, but I don't know if it's gonna work. So give me 1 second. But yeah, 20 minutes starting now. And then I'll put the prompt back up on the screen in 1 second. It's telling me sharing is paused. Probably should have taught myself how to do this before the moment that I tried to do it, but it working? Okay, so I don't know if you can hear the music. I don't know if you can see the prompt, but hopefully both things are true. 18 minutes to go. You can also, if you need those 2 musicless minutes back, I can tack them onto the end.
Drifts back to the past when I thought that we were lost. You were everything to me. We didn't water the seed. Couldn't see you coming. Then I felt you rumbling. Fire in your eyes. Got me by surprise. Took my soul and smashed it. Drained away my passion. But I need you now. That'll make me proud. But now I'm fighting. I can't help wait here for you. I thought you meant it. Yeah. seems. Maybe it was all just a dream. Couldn't see it coming, then I felt you rumbling. Fire in your eyes, caught me by surprise. Took my soul and smashed it, drained away my passion. I wanna hit you proud. Oh, now I'm fading. I can't help waiting for you. I thought you meant it. Yes, you pretended. Couldn't see you coming. Felt you rumbling. Fire in your eyes. Caught me by surprise. Took my soul and smashed it. Drained away my passion. I wanna proud. Oh, now I'm fading. I can't help waiting for you. I thought you meant it. Yes, you pretended. Silence is eerie, and you're still around. Killing your body, 'cause I found you out. Calling the shots, and I'm falling down.
And we have 10 minutes to go. We're at the halfway point.
Dust, explode on the ground. I'm there, 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 I'm there. I've heard, I've heard, I've heard, I've heard. Inside I feel dead. Inside I feel dead. Inside I feel dead. It's only 'cause I'm hurting. Telephone the phone, sat on the armchair with a pint and a smoke. Showing you no backhand compliments, but the dishes are still in the sink. Walk towards the door, just therefore the gold was not the last joke.
when I see you hit me up. Butterflies in my stomach, feel them coming right up. I don't know what you're doing to me, enough is enough. I don't know how you got me coming right back to your love. I still get excited every time that you hit me up. Butterflies in my stomach, feel them coming right up. I don't know what you're doing to me, enough is enough. I don't know how you got me coming right back to your love. Hypnotize me, ain't no biggie. How you ride me like a six-speed? Let's try cracking in the Benji. I've been bobbing, you be with me. While we chillin' and you lady. Where you ain't been in the city. What's a brain without no banking? What's the way without no winning? What's a body to a body that ain't had it out of body at the party, on the body at the party? What's a message to a phone that really ain't been saying nothing? Just a couple words that really make me think that we could be something more. Something more than we both bargained for. I've been lying to myself, cause every time you call me, I still get excited when I see you hit me up. Butterflies in my stomach, feel them coming right up. I don't know what you're doing to me, enough is enough. I don't know how you got me coming right back to your love. I still get excited every time that you hit me up. Butterflies in my stomach, feel them coming right up. I don't know what you're doing to me, enough is enough. I don't know how you got me coming right back to your love. How you keep me running back to you. That they keeps me coming back to you. You're like, how you doing, babe?
So there's just about 5 minutes left. Do folks feel like they need more time? Okay. If you feel like you need more time, just let me know in the chat. But otherwise, I will check back in with y'all in 5 minutes or 20 minutes.
Don't know how you got me coming right back to your love. I still get excited every time that you hit me up. Butterflies in my stomach, feel them coming right up. I don't know what you're doing to me, enough is enough. I don't know how you got me coming right back to your love. Yellow tinted lenses in a pink gelato. Falling out the window, hit me back tomorrow. Always be the one tough fact to follow. Cause we aiming for the stars with a pointing hollow. Feeling these songs like a drugs and colors. Started this job selling rocks and arms. It's like rain if you fuck with flowers. I can keep hands on the broken shower. But if we just smoke, would you ever? It's all been part of me. The minute I know the time ain't correcting my anatomy. But you wander through your thoughts like a broken promise. Waiting for the monetary growth of power. But we divided at the bottom and it's whiskey sour. So leave it on the table when you want it. Tell me if you need it, baby, who's the fire? The stories of the land, we can all encounter. You really show showing me the meaning of what was enough. But if we just spoke, it's open part of me. The minute I know, I'm corrected. My anatomy.
Okay, one more minute to start, wrapping up the sentence that you're on. If you feel like you really, really, really need more time, feel free to speak up. But if not, just start finishing up the sentence you're writing.
All my life, I was